So, good afternoon. Thank you for coming. It's okay?
Share your screen again.
There is no place to share. This one?
Yes. Yes. And okay.
Let's go.
If you I'm not a Mac person.
Okay.
Vem cá me ajudar. Cadê? Onde que estava o Zoom e o PowerPoint?
Não tá aqui.
Ele está conectando a rede. Cadê seu celular?
O Eduardo estava botando ele para carregar.
Então, seu celular se conectou? Não está conectado na rede?
Tá. Não, isso aí tô não.
Tá. Aí agora volta aqui no share screen. Onde está a apresentação? Não está aparecendo.
Tá aqui.
Não, aqui está o PowerPoint. Põe ela em modo de apresentação. Ele não tem modo de apresentação, o PowerPoint. Será que é isso?
Pode ser isso aqui.
Mas ele já está em modo de apresentação, né?
Tá.
Sim, por favor. Não consigo nem dar o retorno.
Apareceu aí? Apareceu aí?
He needs to be to share his screen. Não aparece aqui.
Ah, não, caiu aqui. Caiu.
Esse caiu.
Mas, olha aqui, conectado no iPhone. Tá. Pois é. Caiu do Zoom. Acho que é muita coisa para o 5G. Pois é. Não quer tentar o Wi-Fi aqui, não? Melhor. O cara pega de tudo.
Apareceu outra rede. Esse último.
Esse aqui, Android?
É.
O Android?
É. Não sei se vai entrar aqui, senão um pouquinho, né?
E a conexão.
Vamos tentar. Então, IPQ 88. 8852. Primeiro slide de novo.
Perda a função. A meeting ID qualquer. Dá um Ctrl+V.
Ctrl+V.
O ID tá bom. As fontes tá aí no Ctrl+V. Muito bom. Esse aqui, né?
É.
Passcode.
Passcode.
Aí ele. Aperta lá do lado. Posso mousar no lado. Não é esse que tá colado no. Tem dois níveis lá, por nenhum deles. Tem as notas, você apertar que aparece a nota. Okay.
Não, deve estar faltando algum número. 729. Cancel. Ele tem outros dois. Volta, clica aqui para mim. Sempre não preciso do vídeo, não. Sem o áudio, tá bom? Pode entrar sem o áudio ali, não precisa. Não, tá, já. Coloca aí. Aí pode te mostrar.
Yes, so I did not see that message in chat. So because I was tapped out. One sec, Mauricio. I don't. Ah, there you are. Go host. Yes.
Obrigado. Certinho? So, good afternoon. Thank you for coming. My name is Mauricio Almeida. I am professor at the Federal University of Minas Gerais. And today I will present, my presentation today is called the BFO-based framework for authority in healthcare corporations. So here in Brazil, our research group has been seeking for an account for healthcare corporations based on BFO framework. One of our interests within this general context is to how to explain authority. We use theories of intention, agency, and plans to come up with an alternative to understand authority in healthcare corporations. Authority is not present in well-known theories of agency and intention, which address, in general, small contexts. Well, the world today is marked by the enormous scale of social life. We have business corporations, consumer cooperatives, universities, trade unions, NGOs, hospitals, organized religions, governments, and so forth. These modern ventures include alienated people, which are individuals that are not committed with the goals of corporations. Dealing with such people, with alienated people, requires authority. So, corporations require authority requires norms, corporations require norms. If plans are kinds of norms, which is our hypothesis here, corporations require plans. This is the outline of our presentation. Part 1 is briefly about BFO and modeling. Part 2 introduces some concepts of intention and agency, and then evolve to shared intention and agency. Part 3 is about limitation of these aforementioned theories regarding this shared agency. Part 4 is about the nature of authority and is guided by the question, where does authority come from? In part 5, we use plans to solve the problem of authority within large contexts. So, this is a collection of books for database modules from the beginning of 2000s. It's a full collection of 3 volumes by Silverstone et al. Every one of us that have already opened a database module easily finds some questionable modeling decisions. Everyone even everyone even said that the software engineer efforts to design the database is directly proportional to its quality. This is a UML model for manufacturing system coming from one of those books. You can find, with not much work, arguable decisions like service is a kind of product, finished good is a kind of good, and so forth. Fortunately, today we have ontologies. This is the taxonomy of BFO ontology, which is a top-level ontology created initially to deal with biomedical domain, but that grows since then. BFO today is not just a taxonomy, it's a framework. If you follow me clockwise, you can see our resources BFO has today. We have ontologies for time and place, geospatial ontology and time ontology, ontologies for information, document acts ontology and information artifacts ontology, ontologies for measuring, like units measure ontology and current unit ontology, two ontologies regarding corporations like commercial exchange ontology and industrial ontology foundry, ontologies for relation like relation ontology and model relation ontology, ontologies for properties like quality ontology, and ontologies for process like event ontology. And finally, physical objects, ontologies for physical objects like artifact ontology and agent ontology. Because of all of these resources, we believe that BFO framework provides resources to deal suitable to deal with corporations, including healthcare corporations. Part 2 is about intention and agency, and we are going to introduce some basic concepts, both individual and shared. We are going to show some limitations of these theories regarding authority, and finally explain massively shared agency, where we are going to find how to deal with authority. So, agency denotes the exercise or manifestation of acting capacity. For an action to be intentional, it must be intended by an agent. Intentional action is defined in terms of some state of mind, namely the intention. To understand a shared intention, let's see an example. I cooked the dinner last night. My wife and I cooked the dinner together. My neighbor also cooked the dinner last night, but my neighbor and I did not cook the dinner together. So, why my wife and I cooked it together, but my neighbor and I did not? We can rephrase this question in a more general form, saying that what kind of intention is the intention of acting together? So, shared intention has requirements. Requirement 1, a shared intention plays 3 functional roles. It coordinates the actions of each participant towards the realization of their goal, as well as the associated norms. It coordinates the planning of each participant so that they can achieve the intended goal. It specifies a background for bargaining in case of conflicts. This theory is from Michael Bretman in his books, Faces of Intention from 1999. Requirement 2, shared intentions are constituted by individual intentions of group members. This requirement is to rule out the possibility of someone thinking a collective mind, which would be an ontological extravagance. Requirement 3, shared intentions are reducible to the plural intentions of group members. The intentions of each group member refers to group's activity. For example, my shared intention consists of my plural intention that we cook dinner, and my wife's plural intention that we cook dinner together. Requirement 4. Shared intentions include interlocking intentions. We share an intention to an activity A when we intend that we do A by the way of others' intentions that we do A. For example, my wife and I intend that we cook together just in case that I intend that we cook because of her intention that we cook, and she intends that we cook because of my intention that we cook. Requirement 5, shared intentions including matching subplans. Each participant must intend to engage in the joint activity because of each other's subplans, but she must also intend to do so in accordance with subplans that mesh. Sorry. For example, our original plan for cooking includes to put sugar on the dessert. If I substitute the sugar by another sweetener, I will be inconsistent with a subplan. Requirement 6, shared intentions include common knowledge that all members have interlocking plural intentions. In short, we have shared we have shared intentions if and only if. I intend that we do the activity A. I intend that we do A in accordance with matching subplans of one AI and one BI. You intend that we do the activity A. You intend that we do A in accordance with matching subplans of one AI and one BI. And finally, it's common knowledge between us that one. These are the conditions for a shared intention. The problem is that these conditions, according to Bretman, works for 3 or 4 people, not for large amounts of people. Shared intentional agency also has requirements. Requirement 1, a shared intentional action SIA requires mutual responsiveness of intention. During the planning of the joint activity, each participant must be attuned to the subplans of the other participants. Requirement 2, SIA needs mutual responsiveness in action. During the execution of the joint activity, each participant must adjust their own behavior accordingly so as to achieve the intended results. In short, we have shared intentional agents or shared intentional activity if and only if. We do A, we have the attitudes specified in 1A and 1B, which are, I intend that we do the activity A, I intend that we do A in accordance with matching subplans of 1AI and 1BI. You intend that we do A in accordance with matched subplans of 1AI and 1BI. And finally, item 2 leads to item 1 by the way of mutual responsiveness in intention and action. So SIA has limitations regarding authority. Limitation 1, activities like cooking a dinner and similars do not include authority. Limitation 2, authority may change subplans. For example, in SIA, every participant is committed to actions in accordance with matching subplans, but authorities base order to enforce their own intentions. Subjects must adopt the order as their subplans and revise the other subplans to match with the order. Limitation 3, authority and interlocking intentions. Vertically interlocking of intentions participants is not enough for creating authority, since there are shared activities that are morally harmful. For example, no one is obligated to participate of activities like fake robberies, terrorist plots, and unfair business practices. Limitation 4, plural intentions and activities. Participants must have plural intentions in favor of the activity. Shared agents with plural intentions excludes alienated people, which are relevant for us here because they are today present in all large corporations. Limitation 5, interdependence of plural intentions. Intentions can be interdependent in activities involving a small number of participants. The interdependence cannot endure in large ventures like modern corporations, which is our interest here. Limitation 6, the requirement of the functional roles, the first one. Not any complex of mental states that satisfies the 3 roles aforementioned is a shared intention. It seems too strong to require that shared intention provides a basis for bargaining, which is the requirement 1. So what is the massive shared intentional agency? Is the shared agency in the context of large corporations, including alienated individuals. The MSI context suggests the need of authority. In small shared activities like cooking the dinner, paint the house, play the duet, there is no need of authority. Large groups contain alienated people. There are disinterested, unmotivated, and inexperienced individuals. Within MSIA, individuals can work together towards ends they do not value. So, part 3 is about plans and authority. First, I am going to explain the need of authority, and then explain the paradox of authority, because some authors believe the authority is not possible to be explained. Some alternatives to explain this paradox based on law, and then plans and his similarity with norms. Finally, we are using plans to explain authority in the context of massive shared agency. So, what authority is needed? Civilization is possible only with social cooperation and interdependence. Social cooperation is possible only when a community has the ability to regulate social relations. The authority provides the ability to regulate social relations. Without authority for settling disputes, competition for scarce results would result in no civilization. So the paradox of authority, if you follow me in this reasoning, we are going to understand what I mean. The authority A1 has the power to create a set of legal norms. So there exists a norm which confers that power to A1. This power conferring norm is called N1. But who created N1 which confers powers to A1? So a different authority called N2 must have created N1. But where did A2 get the power to create N1? Another power conferring norm called N2 is required. As you realize, we incur in a kind of infinite regress here. In any way, so before I continue, I have some notes about the terminology I'm using, norms and rules. According to information artifact ontology, a rule is an executable which guides, defines, restricts actions. The meaning of the terms applied here are that rules refers to general directives. For example, if a Congress enacts legislation that imposes a one-time tax on Acme Corporation, it has not created a rule because it applies only to Acme and only for one time. On the other hand, norms may refer to both individual and general directives. This is the sense of the terms as I am using here. So what are the alternatives for the paradox of authority? All of them are based in law. First one is the ultimate authority is God, the classical natural view. The next one is the ultimate authority is the political community representing people, is the modern natural view. The positivist view, the ultimate authority depends on brute force, coercion, is the positivist view by John Austin. And the ultimate authority is traceable to a social rule, is the positivist view by Hart. So all of these solutions has flaws, has problems. In case of the positivist solution, how can normative knowledge be derived exclusively from descriptive knowledge? In the case of natural solutions, how to explain morally illegitimate regimes? Do they have underlying valid legal system? We can say, for example, that Nazism or communism in the 20th century are legal regimes or not? This is the question. Scott Shapiro has an alternative to the paradox of authority in his book Legality from 2011. According to Shapiro, norms are sociologically determined entities. Plans are also sociologically determined entities. Plans are kinds of norms, according to Shapiro. Plan here is not the intention of having a plan. Intentions are not plans, but take plans as their objects. Common characteristics of plans and norms. Plans are entities that require, permit, or authorize agents to act in certain ways under certain conditions. Norms are entities that function as guides for conduct. Plans and norms work as guides. Their function is to pick out the course of action that are required, permitted, or authorized. In short, plans are norms. Remember, this is a hypothesis, even though not all norms are plans. Plans and norms have a typical structure that is partial, composite, and nested. They are created by an incremental, purposeful process that disposes the subjects to comply with the norms created. They intend to resolve conflicts, questions about what should be done. This, just for reference, this is the position of rules and norms, rules and plans in the taxonomy of information artifact ontology. And it's not exactly the position I am proposing here. Just for reference today, this is the site of these entities in IAO. So finally, massively shared intentional agents. What does mean planning for a group? The structure of shared plans is similar to that one of individual plans. Shared plans are typical partial. Shared plans are composite. They have parts that are plans. Shared plans are nested. They identify the overall purpose and specify in subplans the parts that each other should take. Participants in the group activity are not always able to think through how to optimize the next step. So what are the conditions that transform my plan into our plan? The plan is shared in a group. The members of the group act in accordance with that plan. The plan is made publicly accessible to all members. The members resolve conflicts peacefully and openly in performing the plan. The challenge of managing a large group of alienated individuals requires them to surrender a large amount of planning power. Because of this, now we have to create some artifacts for authority. For example, horizontal division of the work creates a net of subplans through policies and guidelines. Vertical division empowers Skyful people for supervision through permissions and instructions. This division of working requires authority. The prevalence of alienated participants in MSIA demands that the shared agents conform to some conditions. Not all participants need to accept the plan for the plan to be shared. The shared plan must be accepted only by the majority of the members who are expected to participate. This is part 4. First, I am going to tell you a tale of the island. In the scope of this tale, I am going to explain private planning, the failure of consensus in private failure, the solutions based on the hierarchy, the master plan, and the opposite. And finally, how to use social planning to find solution for our problems, find solution for our problems. So, a group of retired friends bought an island to live and start a new community. The group's first needs were met by informal and group planning. Building huts, finding food, preparing meals, were all spontaneously organized collectively. Instances of group planning in small contexts, no one has authority to tell everyone what to do. Questions about individuals and shared activities that should be regulated were not resolved on a community basis. While there were a lot of group planning in these contexts, there were no social planning. For example, let's say that a cow goes out of the pasture and eats the neighbor's crops. Who is responsible for the damage? The owner of the cow or the neighbor because he's not building a fence? The group does not have a shared plan for this kind of situation, and they resolve the conflicts through private deliberations. The preliminary shared plan solves many of these kind of social problems, but questions of rights are becoming more and more important within the island. For example, who can use the water for irrigation? Who owns the food produced? Who owns what part of the land? To compensate for the failure of private order, residents turn back to the previous experience of social planning and regularize it as a shared activity. They began to meet several times a week to discuss how to deal with the group's social issues. The property rights assigned to each family in the original shared plan were dismembered and recombined in new packets of claims and duties. This is an opportunity to, for example, the acts to act in this part, exactly. Social planning via consensus has apparent flaws. Plans are useful only as long as they are accepted by everyone. As the island's economy and population grows, the consensual method of governance becomes unfeasible. It's no longer possible to everyone to agree on particular solutions to many social problems. The time and expense incurred in the process of reaching consensus is enormous. Recognizing that the needs for morally sound plans and judgments exceeded the ability to generate them, residents converged for the idea of hierarchy. They decided to split social work vertically, outsourcing stages of social plan to a small group of trusted residents. The new hierarchical approach distributed the work of planning among a few designated social planners. First, they identified 3 residents who will be plan adopters to develop social plans for community. Second, they identified 3 residents to act as plan appliers to determine the course of action in disputes. The plan that establishes the hierarchy of the island is a shared plan. It was designed for social planners. The plan guides the behavior of social planners so that each one knows what role to play in the shared activities. It is, in the end, a shared plan for social planning. The shared plan was designed for a handful of social planners so that they shared the plan, not residents as a rule. The shared plan in this case is called a master plan for the group. New policies were developed to define structural roles and identify occupants and institutional terms. Regarding plan adopters, 3 new policies were agreed. Authorizations: plan adopters have the power to adopt plan for residents. Guidelines: plan appliers are obligated to apply the plans approved by the plan adopters in cases that arise. Stipulations: a person will be considered a plan adopter if and only if she is a resident and receives enough votes in the last election. So, this hierarchical structure establishes the office, determining the responsibilities of rights of the plan adopter's position as well as for other positions. As you can realize at this point, the island has developed a kind of legal system. The social planners are legal officers. The plan adopters are the legislators. The plan appliers are the judges. And the master plan is a kind of constitution that defines the offices. The plans created and applied by the officers according to the shared plan are the norms of the system. The guideline policies are norms that impose duties. The authorization policies are norms that confer power. All residents of the island acting according to the plan are citizens like us of a country. In short, a community as a corporation, for example, can be structured by shared plans that are developed for the staff, enabling them to work together to plan for all. These plans are norms that establish the vision of social work, specifying who is authorized to formulate, adopt, and apply plans. These norms also instruct officers on how to engage in steps of social planning. In other words, now people are able to create norms because they are able to create and share plans. What we are imputing to someone when we say that she has authority? There are 2 interpretations. The first one is called adjectival interpretation. We are saying in this case that the person has moral authority by virtue of being of an office of a legal body. The second interpretation is the perspectival interpretation. In this case, we are not imputing any kind of moral authority to anyone. What is legal point of view in this case of these interpretations? The legal point of view is that others are not morally obligated to comply, and their disobedience will not be morally criticizable. The legal point of view is the perspective of a normative system. Those authorized to act may be morally illegitimated, as the regimes I commented before, and their actions may not generate moral obligations to be obeyed. According to this normative system, those who are authorized by the norms of the corporation have moral legitimacy, and when they act in accordance with the norms, they generate the obligation to obey. We can express these interpretations in formulas. The perspective interpretation can be expressed in number 1. X has legal authority over Y regarding matter Z in system F, if and only if, from S's point of view, X has authority over Y regarding Z. The relationship between legal point of view and master plan can be expressed in 2. From S's point of view, X has moral authority over Y regarding matter Z, if and only if S's master plan authorizes X to plan for Y regarding Z. And finally, it follows from 1 and 2 that a body will have a legal authority within a legal system if the system master plan authorizes that body to plan. X has legal authority over Y with respect to object Z in systems S, if and only if S's master plan authorizes X to plan for Y with respect to Z. We can provide an example within a corporation, like this one. The VP of Finance has authority over the supply chain management with respect to the activity of purchasing goods within Acme Corporation, if and only if Acme Budget, which is a document, authorizes the VP of Finance to plan for supply chain management with respect to that act of purchasing. So, finally, part 5 is about how how we just presented in the theory, we are now transforming in entities and put in a taxonomy under BFO and information artifact ontology. We are presenting this taxonomy, the entities, the taxonomy, and the definitions for them. This is a fragment of information artifact ontology in green and BFO in blue. Information artifact ontology has 2 important entities, which are information content entity, which is a generic dependent continuant that is about something, and directed information content entity, which is an information content entity whose concretizations indicate to their bearer how to realize them in a process. From then, we are going to put the other entities to represent the theory. The entity number 1 is the small here, shared directive information content entity. Sorry. Shared directive information content entity is an information content entity whose concretizations contain intentions of an aggregate of people for the realization of some normative process. Entity number 2 is the corporate norm, which is a plan specification that is concretized by the disposition to follow a master plan specification. Entity number 3 is the shared plan specification, which is a plan specification that is created by an aggregate of people and may be concretized as a claim or as an obligation. Entity number 4 is the master plan specification, which is a shared plan specification that deliberates which person or aggregate of persons participate in an authorization within a corporate normative system. Entity number 5 is an aggregate of rules. Entity number 6 is the corporate normative system, which is an aggregate of rules that is derived from a shared plan specification. Entity 7 is the normative process, which is a process that realizes the authority role. Entity 8 is an authorization, which is a normative process that creates a corporate norm. Entity number 9 is an authority role, which is a role that is a concretization of a master plan specification. And finally, entity number 10 is the obligation, which is a realizable entity that realizes in an authorization. So, in conclusion, usual approach to agency and intention are not enough to deal with authority and modern contexts with large corporations. To explain authority in large contexts, full of alienated individuals, we use plans. A master plan authorizes someone to plan for others with respect to some subject. A theory of plans is an alternative to explain the ontology powers within ontologies. That's all. Thank you very much.
Can we start, please?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Let me just increase the volume. So I thought that was full of exciting stuff, but I would have questions about nearly every step. So I'm going to try and focus on one or two problems that I see. The first and the major problem, which I'm sure is clear to you, is that this is going to be very, very complicated. And it's hard to see how it can be simplified. But let me give you an even greater dimension of complication. So you say that plans are norms. Now, yes. In English, the word plan is used in two quite different senses. And in the IAO, which you cited, we use the phrase plan specification. A plan specification is an information artifact in which the various steps and the various dependencies between the steps are specified, for instance, by writing down the plan on a piece of paper. Very many people, when they hear the word plan, are thinking of a plan specification. Mm-hmm. So if you have, what's the plan for ensuring that we have enough electricity for the coming winter, then they expect to see something written down, a plan specification. But there is another sense of plan, which is the plan in the mind of the person who has to execute the plan specification. So do you, and that is an equally common use of the word plan. A plan in that sense is a mental disposition. My plan is to do X. 5 minutes ago, I didn't have a plan. Now I have a plan. I didn't write anything down. My plan may involve giving instructions to other people. When I give them an instruction and they agree to realize the instruction, then they have a plan in this mental sense. So after all that, my question is, how do you deal with these two senses of the word plan?
The first sense, I agree with you. I saw in information artifact ontology plan specification, but the author, Scott Shapiro, used the word plan. And the second
In
one,
which sense, though?
in the sense of, I understand, which is in the sense of plan specification.
Good, good.
And I can be mistaken, but I suppose it's okay. And the second question, there is a part of my presentation that I justified this you just asked. I am looking for here. Just a minute, please. I don't know if this sentence meets your question. Plan here is not the intention of having a plan. Intentions are not plans, but take plans as their objects.
Yeah. Now, so you are wondering where you're going to eat dinner tonight. You're all by yourself. You're sitting by your desk, and you decide you're going to eat dinner in restaurant number 1. That's it. I think you just made a plan.
Okay, Barry, thank you. I will think about this.
Anyway, let me try one more. So you say that authority must be legal. Now, does that apply all the way through your account? Everywhere where you use the word authority, it has to be legal.
I use authority together with legal.
Yeah, but you say that if somebody has authority, then that must be legal authority.
Do you not agree with this?
No, I think that the mafia boss has authority over the mafia underlings.
I think
that what you're doing when you use authority, you're defining legal authority. There is a parent term of legal authority, which is just authority, which applies to gangs and criminal conspiracies and so forth. Authority doesn't have to be legal.
Just a minute. Stefan would like to give an opinion. There.
Yeah?
It's perhaps not an opinion, but also a related question. So that could you clarify, because I remember sometimes you said just authority, and I think there was also legal authority and also moral authority. And for me, the question is whether in this approach, let's say ethical aspects perhaps should be blinded out, because I think this is, of course, it's important, but this is a kind of orthogonal. Because I think you can describe a very complicated cooperative system completely independent of any, let's say, ethical or moral goal this system pursues. Yeah? Just a question of parsimony in your approach. Not that ethics and moral is not important, but this is. I think if you have just authority, and I think it's sufficient. I think it's not necessary to distinguish between moral and non-moral authority.
I agree.
So I will not disagree. But to be honest, the idea of the moral authority is because you have moral problems to be solved. For example, the case of the neighbors, the call, etc. But these moral problems cannot be resolved by a normal regime, by a moral authority. This is a kind of normative authority, and he is a normative authority, but solves moral questions. This is the one question. And another one is because there is a kind of mixing, because I am working in legal context for corporations, and not exactly for the law as a whole. Matthias would like to give you an opinion. Just a minute, Barry.
Actually, this is maybe just another iteration to help to resolve the issue. I think norms do not need to be moral, right? There is a social theory that the norms are built by a group, like, for example, the mobster boss building their organization with all the underbosses. They have norms, right? The things you never rat someone out, right? That's a norm. But this is an immoral norm, because it actually creates a situation where people who kill other people cannot be persecuted for killing other people because of this norm. So I think it's important to note that while corporations, even illegal corporations, create norms, those norms do not need to be moral.
Yes, in case of the regime side.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And I think that is partially also what Stefan meant. Right, resolve.
All right, thank you. Oh, Barry, any more remark? Anyone remark?
Can you go to slide number 57? Sorry, I didn't mean to cause such a problem. 57, 57. There it is. Next slide.
This one?
Yeah. So I think I approve of what you're saying here, but I'm interested in your phrase matter Z in system S. Do you have an ontology of matters, and do you have an ontology of systems?
It's regarding a subject inside a corporation. System S is the legal, how can I say?
Okay. But that's going to be quite a difficult ontology to develop, an ontology of legal systems. Although you have, everyone understands what the legal system is, which obtains within a given company, for instance. Or within a given country, indeed. But to build an ontology of that would, well, I guess that's what you're trying to do, in a way. But what about matters?
Matters is a kind of subject. I gave you an example, for example.
Yeah, activity. Your example was an activity. But supposing a matter is not an activity, supposing somebody spills oil over the floor, you're not interested in the spilling, you're interested in the fact that there's a huge amount of oil on the floor. That's the matter. That has to be resolved, that matter. I don't think there is a good approach to an ontology of matters, which would cover even just those two cases.
All right.
Anyway,
suppose for each matter, you have a normative part of the master plan, but okay, I will think about the words.
Yeah, so Searle uses the word context in a very general sense. So he says that X counts as Y in context C is the key to understanding social ontology. And he never explains what contexts are. I think that you need to explain what matters are, just as Searle needs to explain what contexts are. Or you find you change it to activity, or kinds of activity. I don't know how to do it. So everything on this slide looks promising, but the use of the word matter is problematic.
Okay, I will try to fix. Thank you.
So thanks for the very interesting talk. I would like to think to question three things. First of all, I would like to know whether you considered the work of Raimo Tuomela from University of Helsinki, that he that he's a philosopher. So in this way, you have all this stuff like social goal, intentionality, sharing intentionality, as you have seen. The second one. Instance, and the third.
The first one, Tuomela, I know, but I didn't use now at this point. The second approach, I don't know, but I will write down that after I get it with you. Regarding the reasoning, the problem I saw several times is that you have several levels of authority within a company, and in logic, it's not possible to represent this is more strong than this. And I think that a solution to this kind of problem, because the logic is not possible, there is no mean to distinguish this subtleties in authority.
Like someone several.
So,
Like someone.
it's okay. The question that the levels of power. There is no degree in logic to represent this. In my opinion, it would be a good idea to put authority connected with plans, because plans have already existed in our ontologies.
So in this case, you would like to know who is subordinated to who, and if there is some violation of power, let's say.
I would like to know the nature of the authority that people use inside the companies, because there is no such explanation in other ontologies. There is authority, but what does it comes?
I see. I guess the work of Muninda will give you something, because he's multi-agent person, and then you would find something.
I would like to know.
Yeah. And there is my own work, but it's more PhD thesis, more on the work of behavioral side, like violate norms, more at runtime. Yeah, and maybe we talk later.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mauricio, for the presentation. And I will come back to the slide, the one we have where you have the whole taxonomy.
Yes. This one. Yes.
Okay. So I have one fundamental question about the moral aspect, in the sense that you have authority obligates. Do you have someone commits to some plan and then abides to some norm, and then give the authority to someone to plan in the person's behalf? Mm-hmm. Did you have some of this? Because I'm not sure if you have already got.
There is a corporate norm, and there is the plan of this is small here. There is a corporate norm, the master plan. Master plan gives the power to create positions. And positions have the power to have authority to that division of horizontal and vertical work. That we have instruments like guidelines, stipulations, etc., to input, to impose authority under one order.
I see. No, because I was thinking that because in your case it's corporative norms. So I'm thinking that the act that makes that norm apply to the person is the sign of a contract. For example, if I sign up for YouTube Premium, then there's this terms of service, then I agree, and now I abide to this norm. So I give the authority to them. All the things applies, but something that I missed was this link, maybe to help in some way to this commit to the plan. Like, okay, the planner's plan, and then I commit to that. So, and when I commit, the persons that ascribe the role of authority can have authority over me.
The idea of the plan is just, for example, that you have corpus of people and you would like to establish levels of authority, and you do this because of some people give to others power to plan.
Yes.
When they have power to plan, they create these instruments to spread the other powers around the corporation. The contract, for example, the sign a contract will be in one of this.
Okay.
For example, for us in the acts, to sign a contract is a document act. Another ontology certainly will be connected here.
Like the consentment. Help out. Yes. I give my consent.
Matthias is an author of the acts. Please.
Cool.
Nice.
Thanks. I think what Mauricio said makes perfect sense, and thanks for the great talk. But I think it's important. I think if I understand your talk correctly, the plans here do not need a document act to actually commit to. It's not like a plan. Like maybe as someone living in America, I shouldn't bring that up. But let's say I make a plan to overthrow the government, right? And then I storm to the Capitol, and then my people who think, yeah, let's overthrow the government, storm to the Capitol. What they do is they commit to a plan internally. They see this is where things are going. Wow, this is great. Let's do it. But that is not. They don't sign. And sadly, it would be easier to persecute. They already have signed a piece of paper, but they don't sign a paper. There's no document act, and often there's not even a declarative act where they all say, speak, yes. That's what we're going to do. It's sometimes just something that happens in their hand. Someone has an authority and says, oh, let's all, and then they all follow. In their mind, they commit to a plan without any kind of declaration.
Okay, but then maybe the follow. Maybe I'm not talking about commitment, but consentment. Because if you are the planner, and then your plan applies to me, but it applies to me because probably in a corporative environment, because first I give you consent to decide for me. And then maybe there's some place to construct to represent that. And then, but it's just
overthrowing the government is a good example of where typically there's no consent. In most cases, it's not super excited about being overthrown.
Okay. But just as a and now the other question. Okay, sorry.
In this slide, the property rights assignments, when they change the laws of the island, the property rights assigned to each family in the original shared plan, where this member and recombined the new packet of credit duties. At this time, I suppose there will be documents
the consent
to recombine and distribute packets of this.
Okay. And the other one is in the taxonomy is about the rules. You place in the taxonomy. Yes. I don't remember the slides. Yeah, it is. So an aggregate of rules.
Aggregate of rules is I can say that is a legal system.
Yes, but then it's object aggregates. That's a material entity, and then in which sense the rule would be a material entity?
Orchestra is also an aggregate.
What is
An orchestra? It's
okay?
material, but it's not. No.
Okay, but then it would be a set of rules, and then the rule would be material in some sense.
No,
No.
there are rules, but the aggregate I'm not sure, but aggregate there is no obligation to be a material thing.
Yes. And then no, I asked because it's under material entity. Because of that. And then I was questioning maybe it's the document, the physical document, or what else. I don't.
A good idea.
That is just this doubt.
I haven't.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, please.
So I just want to pose this more broadly as a question as to BFO and how it can capture normative properties. And so since BFO assumes a realist point of view, would we not be better off trying to analyze normative systems in general and what properties those have, so that we're creating an ontology of specific normativity, then it would be capturing something that is real within normative systems, as opposed to, perhaps this is mischaracterizing, but prescribing, you seem to prescribe an argument for a certain theory of norms and how they work. But I'm saying, since BFO is a realist point of view, maybe we should look at what are the properties of normative systems in general, and then from there backtrack, okay, what do we go from there?
I believe that you are correct in that BFO is a realist ontology and represent things in reality. But the other ontologies of the framework of BFO, not always. When you put, for example, the property of aboutness in an ontology, you are transferring this ontological level to a epistemological one. And I suppose that information artifact ontology, we can deal with these entities. Mainly in this entity I presented the first time is information content entity, directed information content entity. It's from here that goes out the possibility of deal with other kinds of entities not real. For example, plants are not real too, but they are present in YAO. I don't know if I respond to you. Okay.
Okay, so it's actually two questions. The first one is, so as I understand it, you try to solve the authority paradox by assigning your ultimate authority to the master plan, right? So the first thing is, don't you get into another problem of who built that master plan? Like, it's just not another deeper hole to dig in. So that's the first question. How does that solve the problem of endless regression? If, well, you have a plan, it did not exist since the beginning of the universe, so who made it? And who had the authority to make it? That's the first question. The second question is, it does not seem to me that you are required to have any you do not necessarily need to deal with morality or in order to explain this. So you have a plan we don't need to discuss if it's a moral plan, if it's not moral plan. In your account of authority, I don't see the necessity of morality or even legality, actually. So I was wondering why in the presentation you use those concepts so throughout it. It felt a little bit of confusing. Yeah.
Regarding this second question, there is a confusion. I had this confusion in the beginning with the word morally. It's because there are morally demands and they are not solved by morally authority. This is the idea. They are solved by plans that gave rise to authorities. And this not morally authority resolve morally cases. This is the first question. What the second? The first one is about, sorry, can you repeat?
It's about how to solve the repression problem of the authority paradox of the
because you in certain place, people give authority to others, give his way of doing by giving them possibility to plan for him. For example, we vote in Brazil for a small number of people that decides our lives. In the islands, the people are not. There is a full room of people, and there is not possibility to resolve with agreement of each one, and they delegate the authority for others. When they delegate, these others can plan for him, and because of this, they have authority to plan for him. Okay.
Aren't there systems in which individuals just claim authority by inheritance? For instance, the typical monarchies, or perhaps or the pharaoh that claim that they are, let's say, got from God, and so it's not that they are attributed authority by anybody, but that they just claim authority without really caring about those on whom they, let's say, exerts their power.
I put here the idea that the natural solutions doesn't work, as you can see. Here, this solutions doesn't work. The case of the natural solution is one that the king is a god.
How does your approach explain this kind of cases?
Because there is no morally authority. The authority resolves moral problems, but the authority is created by planning. I plan to give you my ability to solve questions. I think I don't convince yourself, but I will try again in the next one. Okay, no problem.